Okay, it's 5 o'clock. Let's get started. Dale and Allison can't be far, I'm sure.
Allison's here.
All right, Allison.
Agenda, minutes, anyone that
Anybody
needs
needs
them?
copies? You should have all received an electronic copy. There's live ones
Yes,
here of the
she
minutes
is coming.
of the last meeting. Everyone's had a chance to
Must be stuck in
review them. I would ask if there are any additions, deletions, what have you to the minutes. Just one comment I would make, I'd want to thank John for running the meeting in place of those of us that were on vacation.
Did a
or
good job.
At a Red Sox game.
Isn't that a vacation?
Priorities, huh?
Not this year. Hearing none, I entertain a motion.
Only change I would suggest is under other business, the last sentence when it states we conducted a ranked choice vote. That was kind of our intention, but if you look at ranked choice voting procedures, we didn't quite follow it. So I would replace that with a straw vote.
Okay,
I would suggest replacing.
so we conducted a straw vote.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all.
Is that actually a thing?
Yep.
Okay.
We didn't have straws.
Bottom line,
I'm
either
just
way,
asking.
They're all agreeing, like they know
I
what it
appreciate it, it
is.
just means it's non-binding.
Gotcha.
Like a straw.
Okay, with that change, any other additions, deletions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes of July 30th.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussions? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Put down, Shannon, the abstentions for myself, those who weren't here. Dave Motter, Pat Bruff, myself would be abstaining from
Okay.
approving the minutes. Okay, OPM, Alan, Tim, that would be you guys.
Why don't we talk about the project schedule that you have in front of you? You can see the current status flag of today's date on it. Where we are is we've just received the estimates back for 90% of the construction documents that have been completed by the design team. With your vote tonight, we want your approval to submit these to the MSBA for their review after we go through some of the numbers that we got from the reconciliation meetings. The MSBA has 3 weeks, and we actually gave them 4 weeks on this schedule to do their review and get comments back, and then they require us to have 2 weeks for the design team to implement those comments that come back. So that will put us to getting the bid documents ready to go out to bid on October 1st of 2019. So that's what you see in the upcoming things that are happening right now. In the meantime, pre-qualification of the general contractors and the file submitters has been going on as well, and that process is well underway, and Tim's been heading that up and making progress on that with the other people in that subcommittee. So any questions on the schedules? Because that's kind of where we are.
One question, Alan, when
Yeah.
you said October 1st, getting things ready for, is that when it's actually going out to bid, or is that?
That's when the documents will be 100% complete, and then if you look down under bid on the left-hand column, it
Yep.
says advertise, that we're looking to advertise and distribute documents on October 3rd.
Perfect.
Okay?
Good.
All right. So let's go into the 90% construction document estimates that we did. Just like in previous estimates that we've done 4 now. We did 1 at schematic design, we did 1 at design development, we did 1 at 60% of construction documents, and this is the 90% of construction documents that's gone on. The design team had 1 estimator firm called DJ Associates, who did them all the way through the project, and then for Easthampton, through us, we hired A.M. Fogarty to do that. So you can see these are fairly lengthy documents that take you through all the various construction disciplines or segments for construction. And what comes out of that is they were sent to us on August 8th, and both of them, and they're different. Each one looks at it a little bit differently. And then we sat down yesterday in a full day meeting at Kayla and Monique's office with the 2 estimators and went through line by line everything that's in the estimates. Talked about quantities, talks about qualities, talks about things that one carried 1 flagpole, 1 carried 2 flagpoles, how many flagpoles do we have, those kind of things. So there's nothing missing. It's a very detailed meeting that we have here. And then they submit back to us today revised estimates incorporating all those different updates that they had from that reconciliation meeting. I'm gonna pass this around. You haven't seen this before, but it's something we've done with all the estimates. And it's a breakdown of all the different divisions in construction that you'll see. Let me wait till it gets around and explain it to you.
Sorry, John.
Dave, can you pass down the agenda? Do you have more or no?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, everybody got one now? What you see is the construction codes on the far left-hand side, then Fogarty is the estimating firm that we hired for Easthampton. That's column A. Column B is VJ, who is the design team's estimator they had. Those are all the different, for each construction code, what their numbers were for each division and what the difference was between their estimates. And then column D and column E are the revisions that they made and got back to us yesterday and today. And then column C should be two C's in there, but it's the difference that came up from those revisions. And then what we do for reconciling them is just take the different, add them together and divide by 2. And that's what column F is, to come up with a reconciled estimate for the project. If you flip around to the back side of the page, you'll see that the total construction costs that come up on this, just where it says total construction costs, right halfway up the page, is $85,325,000, and that's without the alternates that we have, which are listed down below: the roundabout, the maintenance building, the terrazzo floor, and the running track. And those add up to another $5 million. So combined, we have approximately $90,300 and something, almost $400,000. Our budget for the project is $90,122,000.
90 million.
$90,122,000. So if we took all the add alternates, we're short by about $270,000 right now. But these are estimates, okay? These aren't bids. These are just, right now, what we think the best estimates are going to come in at. When it goes out to bid, it's going to be a competitive market. We have 4 general contractors that have submitted. They haven't all been pre-qualified yet, I don't believe.
No.
But they're going to be competing against each other and trying to win the project. So there'll be a competitiveness that takes place. And I would hope that we're under these numbers when it finally comes in. The one thing I do want to hand out is another comparison sheet that is always interesting to look at. This is a comparison sheet that we took it. Got any more?
I think
Good.
No, it's coming the other way.
I'll be the one.
You're right.
We wanted John to get one earlier.
Oh,
What this shows is, again, on the left, all the different construction categories. And then the next column over was your project scope and budget with the MSBA. The next one over is the project funding agreement with the MSBA, which is the same amount as the project scope and budget. The middle column that says design development on there was the estimate that was done there, and you can see down in the yellow that we're at approximately $481 a square foot, and the total budget at that point in time was $85,349,000 without the add alternates. When we went to the 60% CDs and that estimate, the number dropped a little bit, and that dropped down to about $469 a square foot. So we saved a couple of $1 million in that estimate. And what just came back on the 90% CDs that we just did is it went really right back up to where design development was. So we had a feeling we had a couple of $1 million in potential savings there, and it just didn't seem to play out once they got to see more detail in the documents at 90%. You can also see on the alternates down below, the ones that we didn't take, the green roof and the synthetic turf field. But the ones that we had in design development, the price for the maintenance building has crept up a little bit from what we initially thought it was, and that seems to be because of the mechanical systems that are going in that. And I'll let maybe Bert or Curtis talk about that later. The other one that is gone up quite significantly is the roundabout. In design development, we were carrying about $1 million for that. It crept up a little bit in 60% CDs, and recently, and we have some thoughts of why this happened, but it's almost doubled in value. They think it's worth about $2 million here, so almost a double on the roundabout. And the terrazzo floor has, it was about $800,000, went up to $900,000, and is now down to about $762,000. And the importance here tonight is that because we have about $270,000 over what the total construction budget is, and we have to prioritize these add alternates, is, I want to bring this to your attention so that there's some thought put into which add alternates go first, second, or third, and fourth, because if you don't get your first add alternate, you don't get to go to your second, third, or fourth. You only get to go to your second or third one if you can afford the one prior to that. Okay? That's a lot. Any questions on all this?
Could you speak to just on the maintenance building and the roundabout, the bump up in the price?
I can, but maybe, Bert, do you have a feel for?
I'll take a shot at it.
Okay.
So on the maintenance building, the explanation from the estimators was the mechanical systems were more detailed in what they were looking at. I think from our perspective in our office, we were kind of surprised to see those bump up too, because really nothing's changed with the design intent of those buildings. I think it's just once they saw the information on paper, that they just priced it a little bit more accurately this time. I can tell you that it says 1.3 there. We don't expect it to be less than $1 million, but we expect it to be a little bit less than that. I think in the reconciliation, we do look at scope and what they carried, and they were carrying more masonry on the building than we intended them to. Interior, not the exterior masonry, but inside. So we'll make sure the drawings are clearer in that regard, so that'll bring the price down some, but really it's that mechanical systems.
So Bert, while we're on that one, I mean, I was having heart palpitations when I first heard that the maintenance building was $800,000 or $900,000, thinking, could build 4 homes in Easthampton for that. How does it get to be 800 or 900? Now it's 1.3. It's just, I understand, union labor. I understand the arguments we've heard along the way, but 1.3 million for the maintenance building. Wow.
And what's the square footage of that plan?
That's be a hard question.
Well, it's 40 by 80, right? So.
No, it's more than that.
I don't think it.
Is that the square footage listed in there?
It might have it on there.
On the backup, it will. Yeah.
So
just real quick, it's not a house for one thing. So it's a different construction, and it's a different. It's like buying a heavy-duty commercial piece of equipment versus buying, a snowblower for your house. You're buying a different grade of things, and all the utilities that feed it are not only in the building. So you're buying like commercial utility mechanical systems. They all have to be fed from the building.
all those arguments are what got me to 900. And I'm not taking any shots at you guys, believe me.
I don't really have a better answer than this is just the market. This is what it costs to build these commercial public structures these days. I have the same conversation with my wife about just about everything that she wants to buy.
Yeah, I'm not but the conspiracy theorist in me is always wondering if, and I guess these are estimates, we won't know if the bids come in, but it's public knowledge what our top number is. It's amazing how we get bid up to that number. That's just a conspiracy theorist in me. We'll go on.
Can you talk about the
The
roundabout?
roundabout.
Yeah.
The roundabout, what they did this time is we got a cost estimate from the traffic engineers who designed the roundabout. So our estimators got that information, but they used it for quantities as far as how much fill is going to be needed, how much pavement is going to be needed, all the quantities. And what they did is they took the quantities that were in the very detailed breakdown from the traffic engineer's estimate, and they applied their unit cost that they were using for other site work on the on the property. So for, trenching or for bringing in fill on, for the school project, they used those which were a lower value than what our traffic engineers were carrying, because they were pricing it strictly as a road job, without the benefit of a larger construction project. So that's what brought it up, is just a better, more detailed, quantified list on what the scope would be to accomplish the construction for the roundabout.
Can I ask a question? Wasn't part of the reason we talked about rolling it in because it was going to be less, because it was part of a bigger
That's
project?
right.
And it
Like,
will be
What was
less.
this last summer? This was
Well, before the
Like-
vote,
400,000 or
before the
something.
vote, the guy originally told us 350,000. That was his
So it
original
was an
estimate.
attractive option.
Right, and it could be
250,000.
lower because it was part of the building project.
Yeah, the traffic engineer's number was higher than what you're seeing on this report, yeah.
It also makes me wonder, like, we decided on the roundabout because it was gonna be less expensive than a traffic light. Like, because it was a less
A traffic light
expensive.
actually wasn't gonna be permitted when they looked into
So
the.
it's never an option.
Yeah.
Into the.
Because it would back the traffic, remember?
Okay.
It
You
was
have to meet
back way
a
up.
certain criteria to put a traffic light in, and we just missed making it, so. So the traffic light wouldn't have been an option either way. It was gonna be a roundabout or continue living with what we live with.
I'm
That's
curious,
amazing, huh?
Mayor, are there any preliminary estimates on the roundabout at Ferry Street?
It's about $1 million. I don't, and that's why I asked, I mean, it's $1 million, and the slope, I mean, if you think about where, Pleasant meets Ferry and O'Neill, that's a heck of that's a lot of fill.
Difficult area.
Yeah, so when I see, I mean, I never thought it would be as low as 350 or even 500, but I did think about $1 million too.
Mhm.
Um,
So we have a similar condition with the slope. It's not steep right at the
Right.
at the T of the intersection like it is over on Ferry Street, but it does drop down. So we actually have to bring a steep section up early on the drive out of the school so that we can plateau by the time the roundabout is built into the Whitebrook property.
Now, if you take a look at this sheet here on Roundabout, Fogarty knew all the information and had the engineer's information, and up theirs, they think it's $1,673,000, where BJ thinks it's $2,329,000. That's a big delta.
yeah.
$655,000 or $56,000 delta. So you can just see that one estimator doesn't believe that you're going to see a $2 million roundabout, but the other estimator, is nervous about it.
The delta on the first go-around was even more.
Yeah,
The delta on the first one was 1.3 million.
yeah. The other thing is that there's a lot of borrowed fill, as Bert was saying, so that the contractor, if he phases this correctly, he'll be using what he can of soil that's on site to build up the soil for the roundabout. And the engineers are probably looking at it in a perfect world where it's a linear progress for the construction, and they just gotta bring in fill. That they're not taking it from on site and utilizing it. The contractor, when they're bidding it, is going to, study all this to bring it to his advantage, that he's gonna use as much material that's on site to build that roundabout. So he's gonna have to probably try and phase that till last summer of construction to finish up the construction of the school, and then use what is left over fill material to build the roundabout. So we personally think it's gonna be less than that, but I mean, we're not estimators. We hire the estimators to tell us.
So can I ask a clarifying question, and forgive me if this is too simplistic, but the 4 firms that went through the process, the pre-bid process, those are the 4 firms that are going to bid on the entire project, plus all 4 of the alternates?
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, we haven't completed the pre-qualification, but there are 4 general contractors that submitted qualifications, and we're going through that process now. Assuming that they all get through, then those 4 general contractors would assemble their bids using filed sub-bids that are received 2 weeks prior to the GC bidding, and then filling out their bid with other trades such as site work. So they would build in all the site work numbers, and so they would give you a base bid number, and then they would give you a separate number for each alternate. And then as you determine which alternates you want to go with, which ones you can afford. That may alter who's the low bidder and who's second low bidder, but that's the process, is they give you a base number and then a separate number for each one, and you have to take those in order, and that's why Alan was saying it's
So-
something to consider.
So your comment earlier about they're sharpening their pencils, is that sharpening their pencils on the base bid only, or also on?
On the alternates too. They want to, they're in competition with each other. So they're going, when they put their bids together, they're going to bid the project as a whole, and then they're going to put a price to each one of these ad alternates to be accepted or not accepted.
Yeah, just because you can afford it doesn't mean you have to take any of them. So we have had instances where the low bid on the base bid turned out not to be the low bidder on the, when you add in the alternates that the district decided that
That's
they
what I was
wanted to move
wondering.
forward with.
Yeah,
Yep.
So I have a real big picture question. At the 60% document estimate, at that time, people were feeling pretty comfortable. The numbers that were being carried covered all 4 alternates and left money over to supplement FF&E and technology budgets, which we know are too shallow. So I'm wondering if you can talk about that relative to the new status.
Well, the one thing we do have in our budget, you know, we're talking about construction numbers here. The overall total project budget is carrying an owner's contingency of $1,126,525. Okay, it's carrying also a construction contingency of $2,253,000. So if there's something that is not quite clear in the construction documents and they want to put in a change order and charge for it, we have a reserve basically of over $2 million to cover those costs. Owner's contingency is for buying services, for if you need additional design services from the design team or OPM or that type of thing. But primarily what happens with the owner's contingency is it's used to buy, you know, supplemental furniture or supplemental technology. So,
That I
But we've already
understand,
used
but
some.
last
no, you
time,
haven't used any of that.
what was the pool of money we used for the design of
That
the
was all
track and
part of the
roundabout?
budget earlier on. You had $1 million for the earlier feasibility and schematic design. That's part of the budget also.
Okay.
This contingency, owners and construction, has not been tapped at all.
Did we talk about, because that's my memory too, that's where it came from. So
Yes, yeah.
we did talk about it coming
It's
from
been
there.
brought up. I'm not sure it was clear at the time because there's a lot of things happening,
Okay.
you know, in the earlier stages of the project. But I mean, right now for FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, we're carrying $1,212,000, which is $1,200 per student. Okay, and then we're carrying $1,212,000 for technology. Again, you know, $1,200 per student. That's what's in the budget. What the design team and other design teams are saying is that the better number to have is $1,900 to $2,000 per student.
Oh. And that-
So you're
is that
saying we
gone
have
up? 'Cause that was
2,200?
like
Yeah, I thought it was
I was gonna say, I thought it was
17.
Well, okay.
No, it was always 19, I remember it 19.
I remember it being.
I remember,
Yeah, I
no, I
remember
remember
1,800.
1,900 was the.
Okay. I thought we were off by like 500.
So let's say we have to increase both technology and furniture by $1,600 per student, right? And you got 1,010 students, so you're about $1.7 million out of an owner's contingency of owner's contingency 128. Little shy, right? Did I do the math right on that? No,
You're not helping me.
I'm not helping you. I'm talking
I'm
not
gonna
helping
ask my
myself.
question again, just
Yeah, yeah.
because
I don't know.
Rephrase question.
maybe I can say it another way. How much was left over in the construction budget with all of the alternates last time?
At the 60%, there was money
Because
left
there
over.
was discussion that could supplement FF&E and technology that I recall.
Much more.
That's gone.
Separate,
Yeah.
separate from the owner's
Yeah.
contingency.
It was about $2 million.
2 million.
Okay, that's what,
$2 million is there.
that's what,
That's no longer there.
And that's,
Well,
that's gone now.
these are estimates.
Yeah.
We haven't bid this yet. The prices may come in exactly where the 60% construction documents were.
Well, they make them in higher.
Well,
Potentially.
potentially.
So what,
But just as a comparative, so right now, where we are, I'm sorry to keep belaboring this point, but it helps me think about it. Right now, we're how much short to do all four?
About 270,000.
And another 200, essentially, 470, about $500,000
Where's the other?
off the money that was gonna be left to supplement FF&E and technology,
that was 2 million.
That was 2 million.
That was
2
2
million.
million.
2 million.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
I'm curious if there's anything that jumped out at you guys that drove that $2 million increase back up to the original number.
what it is that there were things that weren't completed yet in the 60% construction documents that are now completed in the 90% construction documents. So the estimators are looking at more detail on the mechanical systems, the structural systems, the building systems in general. So they're seeing more detail that they can price. Where before they were carrying a design contingency number in there to offset that.
I guess where I'm seeing, and again, I apologize for trying to do math in my head, but right in the middle where you're seeing the special construction, special construction demo, other site construction, and site prep, that seems to be where it ate up to $2 million.
Well, there's $1 million right there, from 60% to 90%.
Yep.
Went from 10,825 to 11,982.
Right, I guess, John, I was just looking at the subtotal, which is 71 versus 73.
Yeah.
So all of those categories ate up to $2 million.
Does that have to do with the
And the major-
additional poking around they've been doing at Whitebrook for
No, that's,
materials?
no, I think that, if you look at that's the, it would fall under the special construction and demo. They've been doing, hazardous materials surveying, but that number hasn't changed as far as what the value of that is. They kind of bought a big chunk and they're just verifying and really locating materials so that we can tell contractors where they've got to abate stuff, so.
Go ahead.
To your point, though, those are cumulative values, so your 2 million isn't in your site costs alone.
It's
You've got $1
building.
million in the building here already, and then the rest to get you up to that.
All right.
Yeah, it's six.
all in the
That's
same-
actually-
It's 60% CDs, your building was 57.3 and now it's 58. It's a million four higher. Your building's $1.4 million higher. Your site, I'd have to do math to figure it
I
out.
want to
Go
go
back
back.
another million, because it's the $2 million.
Can we just go back and clarify something Tim said? Because something about the low bidder, could be the low bidder on the base, but not on the ads. So does that give us some latitude in who we're choosing as the,
I don't think that's the way the spirit of the law was written, but yes, it would. If you were to choose, if the low bidders, if the low bidder and the number two had a very, very tight bid, say they were $100,000 apart, and these are large alternates, so they could easily be $100,000 or $200,000 apart on their alternate, so that could switch them and make one
More attractive than
more
the other.
attractive if you did a certain number of alternates.
so you could be, again, I apologize, I've got to get this through my head. You could be the low bidder on the base, but you could be the high bidder on the ads, so we could throw you out and take the reverse.
Well, it's all cumulative, so it's
That's why you have to take one. You can't take one if you can't afford it, to go to two, to go to three, to go to
Right.
four.
Okay,
But if you have a contractor that happens to work out that you like, and if you take the two alternates, he then becomes the low bidder,
yeah,
even though his base bid was high,
you could go that way.
you can
Okay.
You can
spin it that way.
You can say this is most advantageous to the community.
Okay,
Right.
You would select the alternates that are most appropriate for the community, and whichever contractor was low at that point.
Exactly.
Your contractor.
But we have to state what those alternate batting order is set at.
Correct.
And can I just ask one more, I'm sorry, Dave. Yeah. Can we withdraw an ad alternate at some point or not? Once
You
we,
don't have to take any at all. You just have to list them the way you want to take them.
right.
But
But if
you
it
can't.
So
turns,
after they're listed,
once
can we
they're
pull number
listed,
2 if we want?
right, that was my
No.
question.
No,
You can't pull
you can't just go to number two if you decide you don't want to take number one.
That's what we wanted to know.
I just wanna know if we have that.
To your question, if I answer it specifically, sure, you could pull number 2 as long as it happened before the bid date.
Bid date, that's what I'm wondering.
Okay,
That's what I'm
before
wondering.
the bid date.
Yeah, we
Before
could
the
put out
bids.
an addendum to the bid and say, we have changed our mind, we don't want add alternate 1, take it off the plate.
So 2 becomes 1,
Got it.
3
All right.
becomes
I
4.
just
Or you can switch them in and add
Conversely,
alternate.
let's just go back to the logic that was used at the last meeting, what I understood. Let's just say for a moment that all 4 are $1 million and the total is 4 million. If the funds available were 1.8,
You only get number 1.
we get number 1, but then we have $800,000 left in the budget.
Correct.
So if we could scrape up somewhere, your paycheck or something, $200,000, we could then go ahead and award number 2.
We could.
Can we use our owner's contingency at that point?
Yes.
Yes.
If we
But
wanted to
if we already
use-
have that
but we're
money
already-
earmarked for FF&E,
I
then
know.
yeah.
Right, but I'm
You
just saying,
could.
if
You
it was
could.
something that was, we'd have to say, okay, is it worth using some of the owner's contingency so we could get alternate number 2 as well, realizing that we're, robbing Peter to pay Paul a little bit, but we're looking at it as if it's something that would become a capital expenditure moving forward, that would probably never happen, versus we can continue to fund through the budget more technology and furniture over the next 5 years. Does it make better fiscal sense at this point?
And the only reason I raise that is otherwise you leave $800,000 on the table.
But
It goes unspent, I assume.
to take a step back, I'm a little disappointed because we had our straw vote, but we had a little bit we overlooked some information. At a budget of $85,325,000, how much, I know you've already stated it tonight, but how short are we on FF&E?
Short. We're not, well, what we budgeted, what is budgeted
What you
in the
carry
in the
is not-
project budget
Yeah,
is $1,200 per student for FF&E and $1,200 a student for technology.
Right.
What our consultants are telling us is ideally they'd like to see $1,900 per student that we did not carry in our budget.
1,900 total or each?
Each. 1,900
So-
for FF&E and 1,900 for
Another
technology.
700 per student times,
Two.
Times.
but I think that's
True.
similar to every MSBA project, they're
Yes.
always underfunded.
So what's
Yes.
that number?
$1.4 million.
So, all right, so now what were we gonna do to pay for that $1.4 million?
owner's contingency.
Owner's contingency would be the big hit.
Right.
And then other monies could come out of the construction budget, construction contingency, or bid savings,
So then, okay, then, so if we're all,
if there is bid savings.
right, so basically, we can't look towards the 85 million for anything for the ad alternates, because the FF&E is gonna basically tie it up. Any savings we get is gonna go towards FF&E.
And technology.
Right, I'm not pushing, I'm
No,
asking.
I would say the proper thing to do is the first million forward that we need would go to FF&E and technology.
Yeah.
If there's any savings.
Right.
Or out of our contingencies.
Right.
After that, if there's anything left over, can go to alternates.
So Dave, what you're saying is if the bids came in at 84 instead of 85,
Right.
right? If the
No,
bids came in.
no, what I'm leading up to is this is what I'm leading up to, we all do it on a smaller basis, some of us in business do it, basically, if you go to this paper, column A, Fogarty thinks it's gonna be $85 million. Column B, VJ thinks it's gonna be 87. They reconciled it.
Right.
That's an exercise. So basically, you gotta figure out, you gotta say, which guy is a little more accurate? We're gambling a little bit at some point in time.
Yeah.
So, okay, we reconcile it, we go halfway, we stay with 85. But it seems to me that the 85 is almost fixed, and that will provide FF&E. Anything else is a lucky benefit,
Correct,
Correct.
correct.
So we can't talk about any savings from the 85 to help us with the ad alternates is what I'm getting at.
Correct, correct.
You know, we have to, so basically.
Any savings from that, so my point was, if that happened to come in at 84 instead of 85, that million would go towards FF&E and technology.
Right, so what I'm leading up to is, right now, we eliminate one of the ad alternates, in which we track, and we gain $732,000. Now, me, as an individual, I'm getting a little bit more comfortable about the monies.
Well, you don't have to eliminate it.
You don't have to eliminate them. You just wait till the bids come in.
I
Wait till the bids come
realize
in,
that,
then you
but
can
still,
pick and
back of our
choose.
mind, because we're gonna have some impassioned pleas shortly on some other,
Oh.
and I'm trying to bring it down a little bit more narrow as to what we're talking about for the vote.
Could we?
Right.
Could we
I understand.
You're trying to get the order correct for what's coming down the.
Right, I
pipe.
understand your strategies and how it played out, and I understand, and I appreciate the fact that we're still early in the process. But the fact that your first ad alternate, in a sense, has to be your cheapest one. From a, you know, from game
From an
theory.
economic point of view,
Well,
maybe.
game theory, like, you know,
Right, from economics,
You're-
but not from
not,
need.
right, so that's what we have to wrestle with.
Yes.
I mean, if it was just a matter of arithmetic, only arithmetic, you would put them in, you would go terrazzo, maintenance, roundabout.
Right, right. You go from cheapest to most expensive so that you
Right.
knew that you were gonna capture at least one,
Right.
and two, and then three. and
Right,
if-
that's what I'm getting, from arithmetic's point of view.
Right.
But if you did, just, if you were to stage them where your roundabout was your first one,
Yeah,
the bids come in, you can't afford that.
right,
So then therefore, you can't take any of the other alternates.
right,
You could still
So we need to say that.
do a change order with your contractor to add terrazzo. You know what it costs, they gave you a bid number.
yeah,
They may not hold that number exactly, but you know the value. So
right.
there are still things you can do.
85 is not. So-
That's kind of the benefit of bidding it out. You know what the bid value is versus a change order value where they just bump it up.
Just to clarify, this might be a firm grasp of the obvious on my part, but the owner's contingency of 1.5 and the construction contingency of 2 million are over and above the 85. They're not included in that number.
That's correct.
They're actually above the 90.
Above the-
Yes, yeah, they're
Well,
outside
that's,
of.
kind of a big deal.
Can I
I mean,
take a
I'm
question?
trying, no,
We're gonna-
I'm trying to think, I'm thinking 85 is the fixed number. I was looking for owner contingency on here, like, oh, like.
No,
It's
that
not
would-
built in, it's over and
That
above.
would be in the total project budget.
Okay. Well, then, half of what I said doesn't matter.
Sorry, Dave.
The other half, nobody was listening.
It's just like advertising, you don't know what's happening.
I'm gonna let Counselor Riss chime in for one moment.
I'm
You guys
sorry,
started it
I'm
last
way
week.
behind the curve. We started out with a $109 million project.
Correct.
There's 90 million budgeted for the construction costs, and I just heard about 3 or 4 million for contingencies.
Right.
Where's the other 15? Is
Yeah.
that not being considered? Is it design
It's
costs?
design fees, OPM fees, it's administrative costs, it's
Material
it's everything on this list.
construction,
I don't have that list, so,
No,
okay. That gets up to 109 million.
That is the total $9 million.
Total cost is
If I
109.
could have a copy, that'd be great. Thank you. That's all I needed.
Yeah, yeah, that was something that was put together early on, that when we first went into the
So you
industry.
decided a $90 million budget for construction, and that's what you're debating, right?
Correct.
Correct.
So,
Thank you very much.
so Dave, to clarify that, what I said before, so if you take 85 as the base bid, the additional 5 million for the ads, that's 90. The 1.5 owner, the two, we're up to 93.5 of what we can use for whatever, for construction, for ad alternates, for additional contingencies for FF&E and technology.
No, I understand that. I was just trying to narrow the conversation upcoming.
Yep.
From, well, if this comes this way, we could do that. I was trying to eliminate some of that.
Right, I agree.
That's all. I know we can do some of that, but that's punching on the fly, and right now I
So-
have to take a vote.
If any comfort, both estimators said that they think the market is stable right now, that they don't see it highly inflational right now. So it's still a good time to go out to bid, and that bids are coming in, especially in the Springfield metropolitan area. Maybe not in Boston, but here it is.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, Alan, that I won't hold you to it unless I have to. What's, in your professional, and I'll put all four of you on that, Bert, Curtis, Tim Allen. Going out to bid with this, in your professional experience and what you've seen happen, how close do we really come to getting the base and the ads? How much does this change from hypothetical to reality? What's the swing? How much? You've seen it happen before. I mean, you've probably seen it happen all ways.
I've seen it both
ways.
Yeah.
But in the
that's the
environment
problem.
we're in right now.
I mean, estimators, they're conservative, they don't wanna be short.
Yeah.
They don't wanna, they try and bid for the middle of the pack.
There's some cover there.
We are in a good-sized project with only 4 potentially bidders, so it's not like they're one of 7 or 8, like some of the smaller projects. I think if they're gonna go after it pretty aggressively, you have a contractor that's on that list that did your high school, so of course they would wanna be involved in this project as well. There's a lot there, but that's why we hire the estimators, because they have a sense of, we go to bid once every 6 months if we're lucky, they're constantly having things bid and they're constantly seeing the feedback.
So you're comfortable with their estimates?
I'm
We're
comfortable
comfortable
with
with their estimates, yes. And we're comfortable that we think there's some cover in there.
I like to hear that.
And they're tuned into what the market is doing currently.
Both these firms do a lot of MSBA and Massachusetts estimates for those projects.
And while they understand the market and where we are and the competitiveness, is there any concern about the issue with tariffs?
They don't seem to think it, if there is, they factor that in.
Okay.
They've taken that into account. Who knows what could happen tomorrow?
Right.
Where's the steel from?
A lot of
Canada.
it comes
From
from
Canada, yeah. We have an agreement with now, today. Yeah. Dave's not over.
Who are the 4 companies that are,
We have Brate Brothers, we have Fontaine, who did your high school, we have CTA, these are all people who submitted, and we have WT.
No, it's Whiting Turner.
Whiting Turner, I'm sorry, Whiting
Okay.
Turner. Those are the 4 general contractors that have submitted that we're still vetting if they're qualified.
And can you just, for sake of discussion, throw an address behind those guys?
Fontaine is Westfield, I think, and Worcester.
Springfield.
Springfield. Okay,
CTA is Waltham, I think.
and Brate is Marshfield, right?
Yeah,
And
Whiting Turner, Springfield. Well, that's their local office.
they're a local office, they're Connecticut based or something.
I think so, I think they're main.
Okay, just curious.
So we got 2 that are on the eastern side of the Commonwealth, and we got 2 basically that are, within the neighborhood.
Good. Any other questions? So I'm wondering, Alan and Bert, do we need to do anything else to jump down to where it says vote to submit the 90%? Are we ready to vote on submitting that stuff to MSBA?
I think so. I think we're ready to vote on that. I think the discussion on prioritizing the ad alternates is, does not have to go
In with the 90%?
Right, it just has to be done before we go to bid.
So I would entertain a motion to authorize, if I'm wording this correctly, the submission of the 90% construction documents to MSBA.
So move.
I needed a motion, I wasn't.
I'll make a motion that we submit the
Sorry.
90% construction documents to MSBA.
Second.
Slow. I didn't think I was going to. Sorry, I apologize, maybe I didn't. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
I just had a question on that land acquisition. Is it still happening tomorrow?
no, it got pushed to the 20th.
Is that gonna be a problem?
No.
That doesn't affect this.
It doesn't, okay.
No, as long as before it goes to bid, that you have full control and access to the property.
I thought you needed it for this.
Before the 1st of October.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's not let it go that long.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. All right, alternates. I think I'd like to start out by offering the opportunity to committee members to share their thoughts about any particular, it doesn't necessarily have to be the one you're advocating for, Larry. But if you can share your thoughts about the need, the reasoning, the logic of why you would be supporting a particular ad, if we could just hear that around the table maybe before we go to a vote. You all know what the four are.
Even with the bump up in the cost of the roundabout, I mean, I just feel like the roundabout makes the site work. I mean, I understand the devil's advocate side of it, of you don't need a roundabout for a school or vice versa, but this is a chance to address traffic that we hear all the time is slowing down. And it takes care of a couple of not so great intersection that we just heard barely meets, we missed the criteria for a light there. And I think it enhances the property, I think it enhances that part of the city, and really brings the school project further up the level of just quality.
And if I remember right, didn't we get an F rating for the traffic study?
It's currently enough.
Currently, yeah.
So, given that we're going to now take all these schools and put them on one site, we're gonna be, how many Fs do we have?
I guess, yeah, you gotta be careful with that.
There's a teacher.
I guess the only
The bars are
The only-
really low.
thing we believed was an F is an F is an F. And there was no ratings beyond that, and there was no degrees of F, if you will. So logically thinking, you're gonna make it worse.
Yeah.
But it'll still be rated an F. I believe with this new school going in, the traffic study showed that a left-hand turn out of Whitebrook was a 12-minute wait to take a left-hand turn out of Whitebrook.
Yeah, I reviewed it today, that's what it said.
No, with the new school.
Without the roundabout.
Yes,
Without the roundabout, with the new school, it'd be a 12-minute wait to take a left-hand turn out of Whitebrook.
During peak times.
During peak time.
Yes,
Morning.
not all the
afternoon.
time.
Oh, okay. Other thoughts, John?
We were entrusted by the community to build a school that would last 100 years, maybe 50 years, 50, 100 years. In doing so, one of the complaints that the community gave us was the upkeep and maintenance that was provided to Whitebrook, the current Whitebrook school. In looking at that, we need to look at how we are going to maintain the school that we're going to be providing. And is the school that we're going to build going to be the best school we can build? And by saying that, I think that the terrazzo sounds fancy, but it is the
It's a
most
school
durable product we can put on the floor that will need the least amount of long-term maintenance. But then we also need to maintain the grounds and everything along with it. So we need to have a building where that maintenance can take place. So the school needs to be built to the best of its ability, because that's what we are here for. We are the school building committee. So we should provide a terrazzo floor, and we should provide a maintenance facility for the school.
I agree with you on the impression of the word terrazzo, but the difference, in my mind, is the difference between our current high school and Walmart.
I agree.
That would be the difference that you would see in the floor.
And as aggravated as some residents will be if it works out that the ad alternate for a roundabout doesn't meet the budget, if they walk into the school and see that it looks like Walmart, they're going to be devastated.
I'd just like to second everything he just said and just add to that the fact that, I mean, we're pretty much guaranteed that a concrete floor will crack in 3 to 4 years. And I just can't even imagine the community the community's reaction to that, to see in 3 or 4 years cracked floors in this brand new building, and you know, even though it has nothing to do with the conditions of the soil, that you know that they will be all about, you know, we were not upfront about the conditions of the soil, that it's sinking, it's swamp, and look at this, here's evidence it's cracking everywhere. I mean, that aside, I don't think any of us want to see cracked floors and something that looks really bad. I think the perception of this project would be that it's an epic fail if we have concrete floors with cracks all over the floors in 3 to 4 years. I really feel that that would be the perception by the community. This is an epic fail. And I would just like to reiterate John's point. I see it as we are a school building committee. And first and foremost, we need to get the school building right. And yes, we want all these other things too, but our priority, in my opinion, should be to get that school building project done right. To be able to maintain our equipment, maintain those buildings properly, have what we need to take care of our things, be good stewards of what we've been given, and to create a floor that's going to be warm and well done and proper for the kids.
I just take a little bit of issue with the concept that we are a school building committee for 2 reasons. Up until about 12, 15 years ago, there was a division in this town, in the city, between the schools and other departments. And a lot of good work by a lot of people I don't care for, has gone into alleviating that, where we're on one page. And this is a community. We have school representation, but this is a community committee. We have to look at the whole picture, not just the school. We can't just say we can't have a silo. That might mean you might still go the way you want to go, but we are not a school committee. Debbie Carter came in as a superintendent, made a lot of good changes, but she lives in Florida now. She moved on. Some of the changes that she made weren't the best. She didn't care. She made them in good faith and everything. And then, you know, we have other people, and we're going to have other people down the road. We can't just, you know, anyway, I'm getting carried away. We are not charged as a school department. We're charged as a community committee. That might mean you still go with terrazzo floor first. You know, I don't care about that. But I take a little issue with that. We're a school function.
Well, I'm just saying school building committee. I mean, that's what we are. That's by definition what we are.
Well, I just see it a little different.
Except, so just a couple of things. I said some of this at our last meeting. I'm a teacher and I'm on the school committee. And you know, people might think I'm just going to vote for the terrazzo floors in the maintenance building, which I really want, okay? But I keep thinking when we went to the forum meetings, so many people who actually ended up voting for our school were promised that we would do our very best to mitigate the problems because they were all concerned. So when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking not just of the parents of children who wanted the school, but the entire community, of which many non-parents and elderly actually voted for and supported our decision. So, but their biggest concern was the roundabout. Well, at the time, you know, fixing the problem. So that's a huge priority for me, is to continue with that promise. And one of the things they said is, well, once you get our vote, are you going to forget about that and just go and build the school? And we said, and I remember being on that stage saying, no, we're not going to forget about it. We're telling you that we see that as a problem. We hear this from the community, and we're going to honor that concern. As far as the terrazzo floors, I would love to have the terrazzo floors, but I believe if we had to, and I'm trying to make sure I'm right, that somewhere in our owners or construction contingency, that's a pretty small piece that we would be able to add. So that seems pretty doable. In terms of the maintenance building, which I believe we need a maintenance building, again, I think we could squeeze that out between our construction costs and our owner's contingency, but a $2 million roundabout, that's not gonna be squeezed out somewhere.
But you've just compared the
same way.
same numbers. You've compared the 1.3 and the 700,000 as 2 million that we can have.
Yeah, you're
the
right,
construction.
except
But now, but the roundabout's the same amount of money.
except that I think we really had a promise to this community to get this vote, and it was a hard vote. We weren't sure that we were gonna get this building. There was, such a huge number of people who really in the beginning were against it, and I just think we need to fulfill that commitment. I'm all for all three of them. I think that the track would be the fourth one. If I was going to do this, I would do the roundabout, the maintenance building, and the terrazzo floors, which I believe we could get out of our contingency fund if we needed to. And that would be my order, but I'll shush. But I really think we have to remember the promise we made to the entire
And just to clarify though, I want to make sure my recollection of that promise was that we would promise to do everything in our power to mitigate the traffic issues.
Correct.
I don't know that we made a promise that we would get that done, because if the bids came in at 90,
Correct.
we would have no ad alternates.
Correct.
So,
I agree,
Okay.
and it could be that they're gonna come in at 90, which I hope doesn't happen.
Right.
And we don't get that, but at least we would
We
have
tried.
tried.
exactly,
So the mayor is already acquiring the land.
right.
That shows a good faith effort to fulfill that commitment, and I just think that we should back the community and the mayor and all the work that's been done to at least try to do it. And you're right, we may not be able to do it.
So before I say anything, I do back the mayor on everything she's done for this project, before I say what I'm gonna say.
Blanket.
It's
on camera.
I know.
Wow,
You too, Allison.
that's going on Facebook.
Nothing before the butt makes a difference though. There's a butt coming.
So, but I'm gonna follow up with what John said and a little bit of the conversation that we had here today. There's a couple things that I think about. If we build the school, the high school's a good example, and I may get some of this wrong, but somebody will fill in the blanks for me. We built the high school, we did, the high school's great, but there were things that didn't happen in the high school. The maintenance building, for instance, was not done. It had to be done later on. And somehow, I don't remember
Well, there
the
is no
logistics
maintenance
of
building.
how it done. There is really no maintenance building. So my point is, if we don't put the terrazzo floor in there, we're never gonna put the terrazzo floor in there. If we don't put the maintenance building in there, we're never gonna put them in. It's just never gonna happen. The same thing with the track. The Rotary, I think, could happen and it could be funded, you may not like it, but it could be funded a different way. It could be funded through, I don't know how, and I don't begin to know all the answers of how funding works for the city and for roads, but I realistically think that that's something that if we don't do it today, it can be done somewhere down the road. These other things will never get done. They will just fall off the list and be on a shelf down in somebody's office. So that's why if I were to cast my vote, right now, my vote would be for the terrazzo floor is number 1, the maintenance building is number 2. Okay, the Rotary at number 3, and the track number 4. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I've thought about this a lot and I want them all. I want them all. I think they're all very, very important.
I agree.
But when me personally think about the 4 choices individually, I see a difference between one and the other 3. And I see the maintenance building as top priority because I honestly do not believe we can operate without it.
Sure.
And the reason I say that is that currently all of the major equipment is stored at Whitebrook. The shop where all of the the repair work is done fabricating parts, welding, whatever you wanna call it.
Yeah.
There's a shop there at White Brick that does that. That's gonna be knocked down. That does not exist
Right.
at the high school. This is a big building. We're going to buy big equipment to maintain it, lawn care equipment and scissor lifts and floor scrubbers, all kinds of things that are gonna need a space that they can be maintained in. And if there's not a maintenance building, day one, how are we gonna do it? And I think the other three are really, really necessary, but I can see us operating the school without them. I can't personally see operating the school without a maintenance building.
There's no maintenance area in this proposed school,
Right.
just like there isn't one in the high school, and so that's, I think, presents a challenge for us.
And I think to the community, we're not taking the Rotary off the list. We're just putting the school's priorities ahead of it, as I see it. What we need to do for the school to maintain the school. I mean, we still want the Rotary, but I think the school's priorities are first.
Again, my only thinking, I'm astounded at the price of that maintenance building.
Yeah.
And in my heart, and maybe I'm totally wrong, but in my heart, we could build a maintenance building if we had to, that would just not be as classy. Using our concern and our contingency.
Can
I
we
mean,
add
I look at
on
that.
to the school for maintenance?
No, why wasn't a maintenance space in the base?
I don't understand why it's not the base
Yeah.
building.
Can I clarify that? MSBA does not allow, I mean, what you have in that school is a template that they provide, and, you know, you adhere to that template. You go outside the lines, it's not they're not interested in it. So the reason that it's not there is it's not in their educational program. They do not fund district spaces, essentially.
But even as an add alternate, we couldn't stick it on the end.
Well,
I'm just
their
saying for
position
electrical
sometimes
reasons.
drifts. I'll say that, because it used to be you couldn't have an auditorium, or you couldn't have an oversized gym. So they've softened in that regard in the past few years, since the time of the high school, where they'll consider some other things. But the maintenance building, clearly not, you know, that's not in their spec. And I'll throw one last item, and I'm not advocating one way or the other. We're designing them all for you. You guys pick. I think you should know that when we go over, we are providing a new football field because we're displacing the old one. That's a given, right? Those folks have to go to the bathroom somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's more than just
And I
the
don't want them
maintenance
walking into
building.
school, yeah.
Right,
Or do you want a porta potty
and-
outside?
And Santa cans don't comply with the plumbing code. And they're also not real kind when you go down and ask them at the plumbing board for a variance in that regard. We know that. Agawam tried it, and they have some really nice toilets now. So the maintenance building also includes some toilets to support the new athletic field.
Yeah.
Thank you, I didn't use the F word.
Oh, football. I get it.
He's retired, what do you want?
So,
A little slow.
just to
No,
further
that's a good
confuse
reminder.
everybody.
Yeah.
I would, however, Curtis, back to Allison's point though, while we don't have it in the base bid as part of the building, is there an advantage to subsequently having it attached to the building so that we may save some cost in mechanicals too? Because they come from the school rather than running them underground to an outbuilding.
At this point, you'd be
Yeah,
redesigning.
yeah.
Right. For a number of reasons, the shorter answer is no.
We really had to wedge the building into the corner that it's in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and the explanation, Curtis's explanation about the restrooms for the athletic facility, you know,
Right.
that's a no-brainer. And we have to have something there. Otherwise, it's a long haul to the schools. People have to enter and then walk down the hall to get into a bathroom. that'll be cleats scraping up our concrete floors and, we got enough issues.
Terrazzo floors.
Well, and then we also have to have a maintenance personnel there
Yeah.
on site
Right.
every
If the
event.
building's open,
If
yeah.
the building is open, where if it's just the maintenance facility, we
Yeah.
don't need to have.
So can we take the football field out of the base bid?
Excuse you.
The athletic field.
it's an
The athletic
Yeah,
field.
whatever it is.
You don't build that
Well,
football field, the
The
CPA is
athletic
gonna
field
be.
is not in the base bid though, that's already, no, that's in the base bid, that's in
Yeah,
the
it's
base
just,
bid.
it's not
Football field,
reimbursed.
Yeah,
The track around it
The track
is
is,
the.
I mean, the whole
is the
field.
alternate, yeah.
CPA will.
Can I just
God
say,
bless CPA, but I will tell you, there is no, I mean, to end up with an athletic field and not have a traffic solution, I'm sorry, I can't look at the voters.
Well, I don't
And
disagree with you.
we've got, I mean, and all of it's important, I mean, CPA can build a new maintenance building. I mean, you talk about epic fails, we have 3 major roads in our city in the next 5 to 10 years that will be gridlock. I mean, not because I'm saying that, because I know that, we're looking at that. So if you want to talk about a traffic problem, there's not anything lower than an F, like, we're creating, yeah.
Much lower than that.
It's gonna be much lower. And if I live out in that section and I'm looking at that traffic and the dangerousness of South Street, I do think that affects a school project. And it affects people's property values, quite honestly.
as a city councilor, if you don't build that roundabout, we're gonna hear it, and so will she. You guys are gone after this building's built, but the council goes on, and we get all the complaints. And I have to tell you that I have to agree with the mayor. I'm gonna leave, because this is a tough choice, but if you don't put that roundabout number 1, you're gonna hear it.
Well,
You're gonna hear it,
and just-
and we're gonna hear it.
just
And
to
I have
chime
to
in, though.
say, just to be passionate,
in all fairness, we don't go away, we all live here and people know where we live, so.
well, okay.
We're not going away. We're not
But
going
we have open meetings every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you, sorry.
Thanks. Dan, you wanted to, Dave, sorry, Dave.
You've been gone, you've been retired that long, you're getting.
Wow.
Modern.
So looking at, I think all 4 need to be there, but when I look at them, there's one item that if it's not there, the school is dead, and that's the maintenance building. Because right now, he's able to do maintenance in that building because it's a pre-existing non-conforming. You cannot bring flammables into this building unless you build explosion-proof rooms. Or, I don't know what those cost, but they're not cheap.
They're not in there
You
this
think
time?
this maintenance building is expensive? So if we open this school and there's no maintenance building, there's no maintenance for the entire district, not just a school. A district has no maintenance.
Yeah,
So what are we gonna do? Go rent one of those ugly tents? You wanna talk about complaining, ask people how they feel about skip shed for a maintenance building at our multi-million-dollar high school. You throw one of those bigger and uglier at this school, I can tell you, I'll be glad I'm not an elected official, because that's gonna be, people are gonna be irate. And then when it comes to the football events, we better pray the terrazzo's there, because the football teams with their cleats are gonna destroy the floor. Just go look in the White Brook, look at the one hallway the football players use every game. The tile there is destroyed, aged partly, but because of cleats. You have 80-something high school athletes in cleats walking on the floor. If we can take them out of that building, I know Larry's gonna be a lot happier, but the principals are gonna be happier. So I think the maintenance building needs to be our number 1 priority, because in a worst-case scenario, school will still function without the other 3. Without a maintenance building, the school committee is gonna have to build or buy another facility for maintenance. And that's not gonna happen overnight. So for probably 2 years, Larry and his guys get to hang out in an office and farm out everything, driving the cost of operating a school district through the roof. I think the maintenance building, and from a safety standpoint, putting it into the school, even though you can't, I wouldn't want my kids going to a school with an add-on that's got flammable liquids and torches and all that other stuff in a building. It's not designed for it. And I can tell you, whoever the fire chief is, the day the ribbon cutting will not give you a certificate of occupancy if there's flammable stored in a school that's not designed for it. Explain that one to taxpayers.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I don't really care if I'm elected or not, honestly. I'm making a decision on, I'm serious. I'm not running for re-election or ran for mayor to keep getting elected.
Excuse me.
I mean, I'm just not. I do leave the roundabout still. I mean, that's a compelling case. And I, am thinking about, I have all sorts of ideas of how to get the maintenance building when the school is open. I'll tell you, that money is much easier to find than a roundabout. Much easier to find. We have it right now, sitting in our CPA account. And it, I can't get that money for a roundabout.
How does it qualify, Nicole, for the CPA?
Education and recreation.
Okay.
And the fact that actually the equipment and the bathrooms would be used something outside of the scope of school for lacrosse and soccer and football, that would be the qualification.
Okay.
And it was just back funded with the surplus of FY19. And the match amount goes up in FY20.
Can I just, everyone has had such good comments tonight. There's a lot of great feedback, and as Dale and so many others have said, I think we really need all fours.
Yeah.
That's my vote. But I do want to say, just because some people were not here last time, and I do want to talk just for a second about the floors, because I think it was Dave that pointed out, when we discussed flooring and took an initial vote, maybe last year, the terrazzo floors were pretty low on our list. And it wasn't something that we really knew that much about. It just, I think the word sounds a little fancy to people, but we thought we could get away with what was being proposed. The design subcommittee went on a field trip with Bert within the past month or so. And I shared out at the last meeting, and I talked to the mayor about it. We're calling for, the design is calling for the polished concrete in all the hallways and all the main areas. So that would be your entrances and that sort of thing, which are kind of your statement pieces and the first impression that people have. So Bert took us to see 2 buildings at UMass. One was, I think, less than 3 years old. The purpose of his field trip was to show us different gradients, different.
You can get different levels of polish, you can get different levels of aggregate exposure
Aggregate.
for grinding it.
We have to have a lesson on aggregate, so he took us to a variety of places that had different levels of aggregate and shine, so we could get a really hands-on view of what that looks like. So we went to a couple locations. We went to Smith College, we went to Hampshire College, and I've got pictures that I've taken at all of them. I think I gave them all to Bert. And in my mind, I'm comparing them to the terrazzo at the high school, which, to me is not over the top. If you've been in any school that's been built probably in the last 30, 40 years, I would say probably 97% of schools have like a terrazzo type floor in them. We were very, and I say we, the subcommittee was very disappointed in all of the concrete floors Bert brought us to. They were all fairly new. Every single one of them had cracks throughout their surface. They have different levels of finish. I don't know if I can explain it correctly, Bert, but when they bring the machines in to polish them, they can't get close enough to angles and stairs and posts and things like that. So there's an unfinished area that you're visually seeing in every view that you have. And it is very industrial looking, cold, and I think that, while yes, some people on the committee may feel that terrazzo is an add-on, I said it last time and I will say it again, I think it is really, should be the base at which we're working, and if we could get it included in the base, I would prefer that. But I just don't think, we'll never be able to add the terrazzo floors. It's now or never. we can't add them really once we put those concrete floors in. I think that if we're building a building, I take this really seriously, that, thinking about, we're building a building for, yes, when we cut that ribbon in a couple of years, but it's also going to last, I hope, for 50 years or so. And I really think that the coldness of the concrete is going to be something that people are going to remember when they walk into either of the entrances. It's not the finish in the media centers or the classrooms, so that's good. But I really think we have long stretches of hallways, particularly on the elementary side. We have the main street, which is a really long stretch of concrete. So I really think that's important. And I would reiterate what everyone said. I will just say ditto with the maintenance building. I really feel like, and I think everyone has expressed it, I don't feel like I have a lot of options. I would have preferred if some kind of maintenance area was in the school, but I get that it can't be, and I get that we need to come up with some bathroom solution down by the football field. But I need a place for maintenance to happen. There's no place at the high school, so I'm gonna have, as a school system, we're gonna have 2 locations, of which one of them has to have a place for maintenance to live. So I don't necessarily disagree with the mayor that probably, maybe we should not do the athletic field, but I get where that
Sure,
was a
wait till Dan's
promise.
gone to say that.
Yeah, I get that was a promise that we made, but I also hear what the mayor is saying, that if there's a chance that the roundabout doesn't get through and yet we're doing that, I think that will be sour grapes for a lot of people, and so I don't disagree with the mayor on that, So for me, I'm thinking, like on day 1, I absolutely would fight for the maintenance building and the terrazzo floors. And I, have to say, I think the roundabout is important also, and I don't know how we get it all. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks. So even though I get an opportunity to sit at this end of the table, I'm one vote like the rest of you on this. And so just to express my thoughts, I've been a supporter of the roundabout from day 1. I don't think that there's a disconnect between the schools and the community. I think it's definitely tied together. And I'm not going to say but I'm going to say however, the conundrum that I found myself in with the floors. So if we don't do the roundabout, we have people complaining about access to the school, and they get into this beautiful building, but it's a pain in the neck to get to it. If we do the roundabout and we don't do the floor, people have easy access into the building and then say, what the hell did you do? Look at this concrete floors, it looks like a big box store. So the one thing I'll disagree a little bit with Pat on is I think other than Terrazzo, all of them have a future possibility. We don't get a do-over on Terrazzo. We don't get a do-over on that one. I think whether it's base bid or whether it's an ad, 90 million is 90 million. If you moved it into this bucket or this bucket, we still can't go over the 90 million. The way that I'm looking at it is 3 of the 4 come to $4 million. I think everyone agreed, even at the last meeting, that track was like way down here. Yeah. If you take off track, we now have...
Way down.
Okay, down here, down
You still want to...
Number 4.
recognize it.
So if we just look at those 3, we have $4 million. Or I'm sorry, there's a cost of $4 million. The roundabout, terrazzo floor, the maintenance building is $4 million. You add on $4 million to that base estimate, we're at $89 million.
Like 89,390.
89%. That sounds
Just
like
did the math myself.
That sounds like a good number to me, that we get all 3 of them done. So, in my simple mind, I say the order is a moot point. So I would charge the experts that advise us, we've got to bring this in at this number that gets those 3 done.
Yeah.
Because all 3 of them, whether it's to the school or to the community, have a significant importance to the overall project. The roundabout, tying the community in with the school, terrazzo floor, all
It's
of
all
them
part of the
have.
same, I think we're all kind of saying, it's all part of the same package.
Right.
And it's
So
all part of getting this school off the ground on the right foot.
the part that sucks is that MSBA ties our hands and says, you've got to take them in this order as the money comes. Because if, God forbid, it came in a little higher, you could get rid of this one and take this one.
Right.
It would be great to have some flexibility.
That's mass procurement law, not
Well, that sucks too then. Because wouldn't it make sense if you were short on the maintenance building, you could at least get the damn terrazzo floor done.
Yeah.
But anyway, 89 million, to me, the 4 million for the 3, plus the 85 base, and you're telling me there may be some cover in that 85, it sure sounds to me like we get all 3 of them.
Well, actually, I mean, we're only 267 short for all 4.
Correct.
That is what I'm thinking.
So
I'm like,
So
all this
Dave, to your point though,
conversation.
we would put the 4th one on there. We would put the 4th one on.
That's 4.
So I'd have to make a motion that the track be number 4.
All right.
All
Brilliant.
We can work
That was great.
We can work backwards.
Everybody agrees with track number 4?
Yeah.
Everyone?
Now, to the
We
point
need to- I
though, it
think
doesn't
we
mean we
need to
don't do it.
No,
It just means we don't do it for any other money.
Okay, so if we use the logic that the mayor has presented by way of CPA funds being available to be able to offset the cost of a maintenance building, please don't shoot me yet. I think we've narrowed down that the terrazzo floors and the roundabout then become 1 and 2. Would we buy that?
Can I just, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, and the CPA, going after that CPA money is that's not, like, I gotta get through the CPA committee, I've gotta.
Yeah,
That was my
That's
point,
not a
because he
short
said
thing.
no.
They're
When-
getting very
when-
possessive and territorial and over-important. That's all I'm gonna say.
How do you feel about You saw.
Nicole, in fairness to that, it took
This is on camera and
it
he's
took
sitting in
Dan
trouble.
2.5 seconds to say no.
That's right, and he
He's one
said,
vote.
Correct.
but he did say no,
He's one
so
vote.
that
But there
makes
are
me
politics That
nervous.
happen behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, and something that I've thought about is with the construction of the new school, and there's discussion of a planned path that would access the park to the school.
Yeah.
Does it make sense for the city to construct a single maintenance facility that would suffice the Parks and Rec department and the school department? Because the school department has to be able to get back and forth between the 2 schools. Centrally located between the 2 schools and sufficing 2 departments.
So that's the
So the
Park
mayor
and Rec
can pay for
Commission. Sure, is that a great idea? I think it's a great idea.
The mayor can pay for that.
But we need it day 1.
Can I just ask a quick question about the CPA funding?
Yeah.
The school department's had a couple of those projects since I've been employed in the school department.
Yeah.
And my understanding had been that they cost share things. Is that correct?
For CPA,
Yes.
you can fully fund.
They do fully fund. They partially funded both our projects. It was like
Exactly,
50-50, and I
And-
didn't
and
know
some
if
of the
that was the
projects-
rule of thumb.
Yeah, so like on, when we bought the land on the side of Mount Tom, we put in other city money, Kestrel put in money, and CPA, and we got a grant, and then CPA made up a difference. But they didn't.
So they could fully fund,
They
I
could.
guess is my question.
Yeah.
They could.
Yeah, I mean, but again, that's very logical for me, and I get Dan, and I already got a text, I have to call him after the meeting. But I just think,
Does it make more sense to think about, and I'm asking the question, the track as a possible CPA project?
after the football field, I don't know.
Well, I think though, to that point,
I mean,
I'm
yes,
just asking
technically,
the que- yeah.
I think to that point,
I mean, it's education, community, recreation.
I have a feeling where Dan's coming from is CPA is not gonna put 5 cents into this project because of what happened with the football field. I think what he has to be, the come to Jesus meeting with Dan is, what happened there isn't gonna happen again, because this school is gonna be in place
Right.
for our lifetimes around this table and maybe generations beyond us. So lightning's not gonna strike twice with you make a contribution to the football field and then 6 years later we tear it up. I don't see that happening. So the contribution of CPA to the maintenance building or the track isn't gonna have the same outcome the football field did.
But in the same vein, my earlier rant of this being a community committee, if it came down to that, we would have to be there advocating, because this idea that, the CPA committee and some other departments are operating under the sunk cost fallacy. Just because 6 years ago we spent some money on a football field, doesn't mean that we have to be beholden to it forever and ever. I bought a new air conditioner and it's failed, well, I gotta buy a new air conditioner, that's life. And at some point in time, I don't wanna poo-poo it, but I know one thing, if we don't do a maintenance building, we should take the football field out of the base bid, because we're not gonna mow it. It's gonna look like- Right? So we can save some money right there. It looks like hell. Look at our tennis courts, right?
Synthetic turf.
Switch it out.
Sunday I went to White Brook because I went, just got back from vacation. I wanted to run. I went to White Brook to run on our track because I wanted to run with my dog, and I could do that on our track. And it was kind of weird because that was an impulse, spur of the moment thing. But it was Sunday at 11 o'clock. I was taking a left-hand turn into White Brook, and I had to wait a minute. Seriously, so I was like, okay, roundabout's on my top of my list as I'm going down the hill. And I go down the hill and I park next to the trailer, like not where you're supposed to, but I park next to the trailer so I can shorter walk to run.
Shorter walk.
And I start looking, I go, there's the pool, there's Larry's, not fiefdom, but that's what he needs. And I have a house in Nashville that it's a crawl space, so all the mechanicals are in the garage. And I'm like, so my garage is smaller than a normal garage. So you take things for granted until you don't have them. So then I'm like, well, the maintenance building is now it's number 1. Then I'm running on a track that I used to run on. I'm like,
You're conflicted.
this track sucks. I'm glad for it because I have my dog, and if he pees, I don't care. But so then I'm like, anyway. Last time I voted for roundabout number 1, but I would put it number 2 after maintenance building this time. But I still think that we're gonna get the whole package. And I think we have to think about strategically though. Strategically, I would go with CBA. If the worst case scenario goes, you have.
I think it's from the notes from last week.
No, right here. No, right here.
CPA.
No, CPA. Terrazzo, maintenance.
CBA.
Yeah.
I thought it was
If
getting.
the worst case scenario comes, you can only do the first alternate. Like if there's only enough money for if only $100,000 is available, you can't do the maintenance building and you can't do the roundabout.
CBA.
If the worst case scenario came in, you have to get one of them. And I'm just looking at it from that point of view. So who wants to pick number 3? Who wants to put a motion for number 3?
Well, what I prefer to do, I think, David, and I don't want to get into ranked choice voting or any of that stuff, but what I prefer to do is just, if everybody's comfortable with a show of hands, I'll just throw one out and say who would pick that as number 1 and see how many votes it gets. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, but how are you gonna do that?
So, terrazzo floor, who
So
wants?
you get one number 1.
Correct, terrazzo floor, who wants it number 1? I've got 3.
I see 4.
I see 4.
Dave?
Whose hand went up? No, oh, Dave, 4, Dan. 4.
Bob.
I missed one meeting.
So I can't vote for anything else?
Nope, not as number 1.
Not number
Okay.
1.
Number 1.
Not as number 1, because that's your number 1, right?
Yep,
You
yep.
can't have 2 number 1s.
Oh, they're all number 1 to me.
I know. That's
1A.
For this exercise.
Who wants the
yes.
maintenance building as number 1? Bob. Did I count them all? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who wants a roundabout as number 1? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I live over there.
Who wants to track them
No.
We're already-
Okay.
Track is out of there.
So,
That's 13. Is there 13 of us here?
There's 13.
Did everybody vote? There's 13.
Because there's 14 with Mary.
so you have a number one, right? There's a 5.
According to that, the maintenance building is number 1, the terrazzo
No,
roundabout.
No, you can't do it that way.
No,
You
you
can't do
can't.
it too. You gotta start off number
Right.
two. That's where I
And
did it wrong.
yeah.
Okay,
That's where we went wrong.
who wants,
But my vote won't.
No.
Everybody gets a two.
You're slate, you don't get to vote again. You only get one number 2. So who wants terrazzo floor number 2?
Wait a minute. I thought we already determined that, I'm sorry.
Terrazzo.
So you're weighing between
Terrazzo floor number
terrazzo and
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Guess what, it's number 2. Who wants roundabout number 2?
But you already voted.
I'm sorry. I meant, Nicole, that was a sign of what you were supposed to be doing.
Wait, can I do twice?
That's what you were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it again. Terrazzo floor, who wants terrazzo floor number 2?
We already did that.
We already
did
did
it.
that. We already did
We already did
roundabout
that.
for number 2.
You're-
Roundabout for number 2.
I'm back because I screwed it up. Who wants terrazzo floor number 2?
We are.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Who wants roundabout number 2? 1, 2, 3, 4.
How come we only have
I was
12
gonna say,
votes?
Can't be right.
Someone didn't
Yeah, who
vote.
didn't vote?
You can't be right.
I want to vote for the maintenance building number 2.
No. She
Already,
abstained.
yeah.
So you don't, do you want, would you want,
Now, you throw your vote somewhere
No.
else now.
Well,
Let's
based on-
try the roundabout.
based on your previous comment, do you want the
I don't like
roundabout being number 2?
Huh?
You
That's
want the
what you just
roundabout
voted,
to be
yeah.
number
Why, what's number 1?
Well, no,
I'm lost.
Number 1 of number 2?
one's already done.
Number one is
Number one
already
had
the
5 to
maintenance
4.
building.
Oh,
So
so
now
now
we're
the
thinking
roundabout,
the second.
Jesus. Why are you all confusing?
She wanted to add her to the
You were
roundabout.
Tom. Oh, Tom.
Maintenance?
Where the hell are we?
Exactly, thank you.
Well,
Terrazzo floor is number 2 then, right?
Yeah.
Correct, there were 8 hands in
Yes,
there.
yes.
So now, number 3 has to be roundabout.
Correct.
Unless somebody's gonna vote for the track.
Everybody agreed it would be number
That
4.
was by consensus.
So that's,
So according to this, it would be maintenance building,
Yeah.
and it would be
Terrazzo.
terrazzo
and roundabout.
and roundabout. And you guys,
Gotta come up with $270,000.
because I don't care about this one, sorry. I shouldn't say I don't care.
Yeah.
This is $4 million.
Yeah.
The base is 85 estimate, that comes in at 89. It's $1 million under where we said we would be. So Alan, Tim,
So they need to sharpen their pencil.
Bert, and Curtis got to bring this in at 89 million.
We have no control over that. It's what the market brings.
Then throw the bids out and we'll start over if they come in higher than 89 million. Do we have the right to?
Lower is
Do we have the right to refuse all bids?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great, I love it. Because we could send them back
As
to the
long as
drawing
it
board and
doesn't
say,
delay
"You
this
can't."
project.
What'd you say?
We have a question.
As long as it doesn't delay this project.
What would that do? The time, I mean, I know we could, but the timeline
And it's only gonna get more expensive.
Yeah.
Do you guys have an opportunity to deliver a message to them with the bid?
Yeah, come in with the best bid. That's what their message is always, I'm sure.
Well, Dave Boyle made a comment earlier
Yeah.
on when we talked about a maintenance building, and Dave said if you tell somebody you've got to build this for $1 million, they'll build it for $1 million.
Right.
Because that's all we have. You got to, or if you don't build it for $1
But they
million, we
make
don't.
it
But they know that.
They gotta
know
bring
it's
it
a
in.
public bid, they know what the bid bond is for.
They're gonna see all
They
these.
know what it
numbers.
is.
All they gotta do is
Okay.
watch the video.
We said the
The question is whether they want the job or not.
Yeah.
It's not what we advertise or what the budget is.
They're competing against each other. They
That's
do
right.
not
All they're
know what, they do not know what their competition is gonna put down on that piece of
Right.
paper.
I'm confident we get all 3.
Yeah, the envelope, please.
And maybe there's enough for the, maybe it comes in at the right, the other $1 million comes in and we do the track.
Promise me you're not gonna take out the football field.
It's not.
We're not taking it.
Athletic field, you mean?
It is not.
Tom, I just have a quick question. So with number 4 being the track, I know that it was the track,
It's just the
Tennis
track.
court?
Just a truck.
Just a
because
track.
in here it says tennis court.
I know, that's a lie.
Okay.
It's just a track.
So that,
They're grass
On
courts.
that,
We just
that's
have
our
to keep
original.
them.
You just have to mow on it.
yeah.
Way back when we had tennis courts and grandstands, but those got dropped.
Okay.
The tennis
Just wanted
courts
to
and the
make sure
grandstands got
If we had
dropped.
more wiggle room.
that's
So it's really just a running track that we're looking
It's
at.
just
So the reason you potentially get all four is,
What kind
here's
of
another
sick right
million,
now?
and that brings you to the 90 where it should be.
There's no winning.
There, yeah.
You
no,
potentially
no
get all
ball.
four.
And
There's
you
no
can-
winning, there's no, it's just off.
There is winning, we get them all.
That's the only
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah, all
And
this,
again,
all this becomes moot if we have enough money.
you know, we all, I think, want the same thing. We all
We
want
all
all
want
of
them
them.
all.
So
Yeah.
there's
Yes.
no, you know, doubt.
Normally, you don't have this many people making this kind of
Correct.
decision. You know, at home, you have your budget,
Right.
it's one or two people, you usually go with your gut and move on.
Yeah.
Usually go with my wife, she said.
I know, and you know, this cost plus mentality they have, I tell you.
Well, it's
I wish she was here, because it'd be so much more fun.
She
Oh,
gonna
yeah, we'll
watch
make
this
sure we get a
video?
copy of the video.
Yeah, tell Lisa cable went out, you can't watch it. Anything under other business?
We didn't actually vote.
Oh,
To submit?
on the.
Oh, yeah.
Way to go, Sharon.
Do we have to
Good
vote
point.
on that rank
Yes,
order?
we do.
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
So I make a
Keep us on
motion
track.
that we put the add alternate order of 1, the maintenance facility, 2, the terrazzo floor, 3, the roundabout, and 4, the track.
Second.
Who was that? Dave?
Dave.
I mean,
Dave
Dave.
said it, I motioned it.
Dan.
Dan,
Motion made,
Bob?
seconded.
Timer, whatever you wanna call it.
Motion made and seconded. Maintenance building, terrazzo, roundabout, track. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Against.
Okay.
All but Nicole.
And the charge to our 4 expert professional bid people, beat them over the head, get it done right, is to get them all.
that's right.
Can I just add one thing before we close the meeting? If you noticed on the way in, we have our vision boards up on display. If you have not had a chance to look at them, the design team actually has been busy. And so this is kind of, we have 2 boards out there, one for the elementary side, one for the middle side. And they're like complementing each other, and I mean, I think we can bring them in probably and talk about them more in depth at a future meeting, but we decided that we would put them out there because we have people, a lot of people walking through the office, kids registering and little preschoolers, so we thought families might enjoy seeing that, so.
Can you guys have for 300 grand?
Attention already.
Donors
Couple of
choose,
days, but-
Huh?
donors choose.
That was true. A GoFundMe.
It's a GoFundMe
Do we have another meeting?
for schools.
Yes.
September 10th.
September 10th?
I think that's a school committee night.
I was gonna say, yeah, we have a.
So we need to
Is there a
be
vote then?
done by 6.
Well, can we be done by 6? What's going on September 10th?
I think it's just a
Are
follow-up.
we going back to any particular schedule or?
Up to you. Barbara asked me the same thing
No, I'm
about
just-
when we submit the agenda. She wanted to know if we would be on a set, like the second Tuesday every month or what have you, but
Yeah, we
I-
got away from
I
it.
personally,
You have a lot of free time right now.
until we have to, I really don't want to meet for the sake of meeting.
Yeah.
Once we go out to bid and once we're in construction, we're probably gonna be meeting a lot more regularly, but do we need September 10th, guys? What's any updates, anything gonna happen? No votes?
Let's not do it.
I'm good.
It's a busy week.
It's my anniversary.
Yeah, it's busy, that's busy, like the first,
So what's the second Tuesday in October?
October 8th.
Are we good with that date based on the calendar?
Do we have
Does
to
that,
meet before the bids
You're gonna
go
be
out?
almost out the bid by then,
yeah,
right?
it's not school
We
committee.
will be out.
No, we don't have, we don't have one.
There's nothing, that's what I'm asking.
That's why
Yeah.
too, we slow back down when we do elections.
For the pre-qualification?
Well, no, it's
Yeah,
really just
October? Yeah, I
inform
put them in here.
of
It's,
who
You don't have my
pre-qualifies.
cousins next year.
But we should probably have a meeting
An update.
Roach.
to update
Oh, really?
Before we go
I
to
do
bid.
have that.
MSBA comments.
I didn't know they
It's
were-
close to look before, say, yes,
Go up in the
Yes,
top.
okay,
Oh,
so.
it's funny, and we do
What's the
have
last
a
day?
meeting, and we
The
do have a
last, no, the last, we need it
We're
before
doing this
October
live.
1st.
Okay,
Yeah.
24th?
That's cool.
September
Two
24th?
weeks.
They're together, yeah.
How's September 24th work for everyone?
September 24th?
Yep.
School committee.
24th. School
School
committee?
committee again?
Well, we
Okay,
can
What about
work
the
around
30?
that though,
Oh.
can we,
Yes.
because it's,
we'd have to be
It's
done
not
in
gonna
A
an
be-
hour.
short agenda.
it's a short meeting.
Yeah.
We're just getting updated on the bid people and that's it. There's nothing
So if you
more.
guys can tell us the meeting will be done in an hour, we can do September
On the
24th.
We don't have to vote on anything.
Yeah, let's just not vote. We're good.
Well, we're not. We shouldn't
It's an
have
up-
to.
no,
It's just an update on who the bid, who is pre-qualified
Yeah,
for the
Tim,
bidding.
Tim had said, it's great, it's good to have one last
Yep.
meeting before we go out to bid.
All right, September 24th?
September 24th, 5 o'clock.
5 to 6.
And we're holding
I
us
mean,
all
we
to-
could start earlier if that would, I mean, do
That's true.
people wanna start at 4:45 or, I don't know, I'm asking. I mean, we're here, some of you I
I
know
could
have other
make it
jobs,
2 o'clock
so.
if you'd like.
That would be great.
How about,
Sounds really good.
I'd like to see my wife.
does 4:45 work
That's fine.
that day?
Yeah, okay.
Let's do
Give
it.
us a little wiggle room.
4:45 on the 24th of September. We'll get an agenda out to you in advance.
Good news is you can't start without me.
Yeah. Does that work for you, Shannon, 4:45?
It should, as long as I don't hit traffic.
And there's no meeting
I'm
on
coming
the
from
10th.
Connecticut,
We're
so-
canceling that one, right?
Right, no 10th. That's
No
gone.
meeting on
No
the
10th.
It's gone.
All right.
Good by me.
Okay.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Hey, good job.
What time are you officially adjourning,
Motion to
sir?
adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Pat seconded. Dan?
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you see those boards?
Don't hate me.
Leaving you.
A lot of people